Hey guys, this is Mac with Venture Addicts, and if you haven't watched us before, we are basically a group of guys who own a media company specializing in video production. We get to travel quite a bit because of it, and we make YouTube videos all about it. This video is going to be a quick story time kind of thing on how we met one of our idols, Gary Vaynerchuk, and how he ultimately changed our lives forever. A rewind back around 2 years, I was working a 9-to-5 job as a college dropout. Jacob was bartending at the time. Tim was working a 9-to-5 job at Hewlett-Packard. We were your everyday entrepreneurs, and if you don't know what one of those is, it's basically somebody who works a 9-to-5, doesn't run their own business, but kind of acts like an entrepreneur, watches the motivational videos and everything, but does not actually run a business, has a safety net of a job. Yeah, entrepreneur. But that being said, Jacob and I were traveling quite a bit every single break we had and making videos on the side, kind of the short travel style stuff. The format was basically if we could save up for the flight, we were good to go. We would worry about the stresses of all the other expenses when we got there. We would just scrounge up enough money for the flight. If we could get there, we were good. We were all fans of Gary at the time. I can actually remember watching 1 or 2 keynotes every single day on my way to and from work, kind of plotting my way out of the 9-to-5. It was around that time when I saw an Instagram story from him saying that he was coming to Houston that night, which is where we live, by the way, and he wanted to take a few hours to do a meetup with his fans. And one thing he said really stuck out. He was down D-Rock for the night. D-Rock wasn't going to be there. For those who don't watch Gary Vaynerchuk, D-Rock is the guy who personally films for him, so this means he needed a videographer. I called up the guys and basically said, there's no way in hell we're missing this meetup and a chance to film for Gary Vaynerchuk himself. I didn't exactly know what was going to come out of it. All I know is that going through my head, if something happened out of it, it had to be a good thing. So it was a no-brainer for me. I was going to try and do it. If I didn't meet him, fine. If I did meet him, amazing. There's only upside. So he gave simple instructions on his story. Contact his team on Twitter, and they would get in contact if you were chosen to be his personal videographer for the night. So I made a Twitter and I started spamming his team trying to get in contact with somebody. I was pumped when I actually got a response from D-Rock. I thought I was the one. I thought I was going to play through. He did not respond after his initial response, and every single one of his team members went radio silent after that point. I was pissed that nobody responded, but we still went downtown. We sat at a coffee shop, and we were waiting for his Instagram story to tell where the meetup was actually going to be. We weren't going to miss it. He finally announced that the meetup was going to be at the Marriott Marquis, and those have been to Houston. It's a famous hotel, center of downtown Houston. Everyone knows where it's at. We sprinted there, and we were going to be the first ones in line to meet him. When we got there, we could actually see him eating in the dinner area through the glass, and it was kind of like this cool, ominous feel. He's sitting there with his team, and everybody knew that he was going to be out there in a few minutes. But I formulated a plan. I was going to be first. I was going to tell him that I was the chosen videographer, and everybody after that would basically be a liar because I was the first one to tell him. So that's exactly what we did. He came to the glass door. He opened it. I looked him dead in the eyes, shook his hand, and said, Mr. Vaynerchuk, I'm your personal videographer for the night. I was contacted by your team. I was chosen, so I'll be right next to you all night getting the good footage, and I will send it to your team after we're done. He looked at me, said, thank you so much. It's great to meet you. Let's do this. So fast forward through the meetup. It went amazing. Got to hang out with Gary all night. Got the details on where to send the footage, and he was off from there. So it was a wonderful meeting. The guy was amazing. I can't say enough good things about Gary. His content's amazing, but if you get the chance to meet him in person, he's the most genuine person in the world. The following days are when the real fun happened. Jacob had finished editing the short video, the recap we did for the meetup. And after that, it was basically my turn to bombard every single person in their office trying to get in contact with somebody to make sure they used the footage, to make sure they showed it. And I had one goal in mind, and it was get every single person in that office to look at each other and say, who the hell is this guy emailing me right now? I wanted every single person in the office to know my name. I wanted every single person in the office to be annoyed to the point where they said, fine, we're going to use the footage. We're going to post it. Just stop emailing us. And again, I didn't really have any expectation for what I would get out of this whole make something happen with Gary's team, make something happen with Gary. I don't know. All I knew was that I wanted to do something because the 9-to-5 wasn't making me happy, and I wanted to just make something happen. I didn't really care where it went as long as it took me away from what I was doing at the time. And eventually, Some of our clips were shared across the socials. I saw some on Instagram, Twitter. I don't know if anything made it on YouTube. I think it might have on the official meetup recap video. But it was enough to get seen by a world famous chiropractor who then DM'd me on the Twitter that I just made a couple days ago and said, I'm looking for similar style video as Gary. When can we meet? I'll be honest, I was a little skeptical, but doing some research on the guy, he was doing amazing work around the world in the field of chiropractic, and so I had to meet him. It turns out he was a fan of Gary's as well, and ultimately he wanted that same style of run and gun videography for his own message, and that's why he contacted us. So crazy turn of events. We ended up negotiating a deal that allowed us all three to quit our jobs at the time and focus solely on what would become our video business. So to make a long story short, we turned that one client into many clients. We've since hired more employees. We've since gotten an office. We've gotten the chance to work with some of the biggest brands in the world, creating some amazing visuals and traveling along with it. We haven't by any means made it by a lot of standards of business and even by our standards of business, but we're on the right track to it. I don't know exactly where I was going with the moral of this story, but if I had to choose one, it would be continually do shit, regardless of what you think the outcome might be, because eventually something good is going to come from it. I wanted to work with Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know how or why, or I don't know how it was going to happen, but I knew that if I made a video for him, something would happen. If I had to guess, it would have been with his business, but it was with a totally unrelated person that I couldn't have even began to fathom reaching out to directly, but I would have never known that if I wouldn't have tracked down Gary, took the risk by saying, I'm your personal videographer, Jacob creating an amazing visual, then bombarding his team with emails and messages saying, please show our footage to Gary, et cetera, et cetera. I never would have known, and it never would have happened. And if I had to make another goal for the video, it'd be to get it seen by Gary. That would be pretty cool. I want him to know that I lied to him, and I'm sincerely sorry, but I did what I have to do, and I'm pretty happy running a business right now. So I also wanted to say thank you, Gary, for helping us start our business. And it'd be cool to get on a show or podcast. I didn't really get a chance to sit down and talk with him that night. I talked to him a little bit. Would be really cool to ask him a few questions about business. So my ask to you, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, and send this video to Gary Vaynerchuk. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. I will see you later.